Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Warrior Way. It's Yoni again. Very excited to share some stories today. You know, I mentioned, I'm sure, many times that well, at least I think I did, that there are no such things as coincidences, right? So we could call things a coincidence, like, oh, it just happened, or we can call it God, that every moment is exacting the way it's supposed to be at the exact moment. There are no mistakes made. So the other day, I went rollerblading in a town near me, not in specifically in my town, but in a town close by. I was rollerblading on the boardwalk, and I passed this guy, and he looked familiar. I said hello back, but I kept on going, and then I realized I knew him. So I swung back around. I went over to him. He was a rabbi, someone I knew from my past, knew someone in my family. I said, "Rabbi, hi, it's Yoni." He said, "Hi, how's it going?" And we spoke for a little while. And the first thing he said to me was, "Isn't it a beautiful day? We should just live in the moment." And I know he's talking my language, like being present in this moment. This is the only thing that matters. He starts saying the past already happened, the future didn't happen yet. Here we are in this moment, and he's like, the fact that you came back around, it's exacting, it's perfect. And I'm like, yes. And I was so grateful to be in that conversation. And he's in a different world than I am. Like, I was in that world for a period of time. I mentioned that I was a rabbi myself, for a period of time, for a few years, more than a few years. And I was very religious for a long time in the Jewish world. I'm no longer. It's not part of my life at all. It's part of my story of how I had to break free of that system. But for me, he ended up inviting me for a Friday night meal, which I said yes to. I went to this meal. It was a lovely meal. It was beautiful. His family is beautiful. He's a very loving person. He had some guests over, and we had some amazing conversations. And one of the guests was having difficulty with me in a certain way, understanding me, and he kept on saying like, "You have your opinions," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "So do you. Everyone has their opinions." Yeah. And everyone views their opinions as being the right opinions in a sense, like, but there are opinions for a reason. Like, we don't know what really happens once we leave this world. Like, I guess if someone maybe experienced that themselves, they know, but if we don't have the experience with them, then we can't know that their opinion is maybe real. I just know that I have to trust how I feel. So we had that conversation. It was like I was trying to say I trust how I feel, and I'm in such a good place to really feel that freedom inside of myself to see the God in every single moment, that God sees past, present, future, and that everything already happened. So if everything already happened, what's there for left for us to do is just to enjoy those moments of getting invited to a meal and going to the meal. And the rabbi was so good in the sense that he was basically saying also, like, his path is Judaism, and some people's paths might be Islam or Catholicism or Christianity or Buddhism or Taoism. And everyone has their own specific, unique path to free themselves and to know for themselves if they feel that they're in a good, solid place for themselves where they feel free of the struggles and the suffering. He acknowledged that, the rabbi acknowledged that, he said, listen, if you look at my life, I don't have the most luxurious lifestyle. I have difficult things going on in my life, but he said, but I'm really happy and I love God. And I'm like, that's beautiful, right? It's a person who wants to be present. He feels he is present. There's no way for me to know if he is or isn't. Um, and each person has to know, how present are you? How good are you within your own suffering? There are people that could lie. Like, I believe that there was that guy at the table who was talking to me was a little bit not being honest with himself. He didn't look, to be honest, like, didn't look fully happy. I'm not saying he's not happy. He might be happy most of the time, but in that conversation, he didn't. I don't think, like, it wasn't. He couldn't understand me and wanted me to kind of hear him out. And I just kept on telling him, I hear what you're saying. I kept on listening to him, actually, and really telling him, I do hear what you're saying. But I was saying that the way in which people could give it over better is when they're really content with their life. If they're really joyous and they really feel good inside, then that message is more important than anything else, right? If you want to give over to somebody else a positive feeling, then you better be in that positive feeling place to give it over and to be the most authentic version of yourself, because the realness, that real joy, that real stability, that real contentment with life, when you give that over, then other people feel that way. And then other people are like, oh my gosh, yes, I want that. My job isn't to tell people to do what I do. I would say that I just wanted to be free. I wanted to be free of like the suffering I was struggling with for such a long time. I was suffering in here. I was suffering like I didn't know there was breathing, there was breath, and the breath to me is everything. The one breath can bring you back to this present moment and to realize that it's all right here. There are no coincidences. Is nothing by mistake. But it's not my job to convince someone in any of their paths to come along my path, especially when their path is bringing them to their own freedom. If it's bringing them to their own freedom, my my thing would be for other people is that when you're when you feel that you know if you feel you are better than somebody else because of your belief system, I believe that we're all the same. There is no better. No one is better. Someone in Judaism and Catholicism isn't better than the other person, or Islam or Taoism. I believe you don't want to cause suffering to others. I believe if your religion or your belief in your religion is to hurt other people or to or to cause suffering to others, I don't believe that's something we're supposed to do as a human being. I think we're supposed to make each other's lives easier, be here to help each other to get through these difficult times, and to really, as my teachers taught, love, serve, remember. Right? Love everyone, serve God, love everyone, love God, serve everyone, because that's serving God, and remembering God that we're all like when you look at a person, Ram Dass would say, when you look into a person's eyes and you see behind a person's eyes, you see that there's the soul, and then behind that you see you're really looking at yourself, who's looking back at you. It's a channel on the realities, like you are that other person. In this reality, I am Yoni and you are whoever you are, but in theory, when you're watching this video, really it's yourself reflecting over in this way. That's why you're coming across this video in this exact moment. There is no coincidence. This is you in a different version, and I'm you in that other version as well. So we're all these different versions, and we're it's the famous question of like, why did God even create the world? And this is a conversation we had at the Friday night meal, and it's one of those things that like you can ask that question, but nobody really can give you. There's no real answer, but there are some answers, and one of the answers that I heard from Ram Dass, which is that he was saying that God created the world to know himself, right? That in order to for the one to come out of to know himself, he has to become many. He has to kind of make an illusion, a reality in which there's two, there's multiples of himself in order to come back to the one, in order to come back to the two. And it's called the dance of life. Like Ram Dass has a book called The Only Dance There Is. Like this is a dance, a dancing of forms, and that how you God came out of the formless to create form, and to talk, even words to talk about God is not, doesn't give it justice, because words already diminish what God is. God is the totality, and that's another conversation I had with one that guy that was getting all heated a little bit, was talking about the God concept, that the God is within you, that you are in fact God, but you are no better than anyone else who's God too. You're no better than a rock in a sense. A rock is God. Just because the rock doesn't talk and it's not a living entity, is it any better or worse than me? There's no better or worse. It just is. God is the rock. God is me. God is you. God is the tree. God is the sky. God is the bird. And we are all entities of the same form. We're all part of the same. And it's just this feeling that we want to get into these conversations, because ultimately, everyone's very passionate about what they do in their life, and they really ultimately, I think, in that conversation at the table, even with everybody, was really the love they have. They really want everyone to feel what they feel, and sometimes people feel like they want people to come along their journey because they're scared that there are other people that think differently than me, then maybe I'm not exactly in a good place. I finally came to a place where I'm like, people can think differently than me. It's beautiful, and I'm happy for them that they think that way. I used to think a certain way, and I was looking outside to find myself. There are people that one of the comments was, "Oh, there's this big rabbi who says this," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't care what the big rabbi says." No offense, like it's not like I saying you shouldn't. I don't look towards anyone else to feel what's real anymore. I can learn from a book, or I can learn from videos, and I hear it, but I take out what resonates with me. How do I feel? And I breathe into it. Like, does this resonate with me? I've turned off videos. Like, I watch a video halfway through. I'm like, the first half of the video is amazing, and then I get to the second half, and I'm like, this video isn't for me, and turn off the video. And I would say the same thing if you're watching my video. If it doesn't resonate with you, it's okay. I don't want to. I'm not trying here to cause pain for people to feel like, I want people to feel like, just breathe. Like, it's all perfect. There are no mistakes. Whatever you've done, you couldn't have possibly done it if God didn't want you to do it. How would you have done it? God would let you do something. People get all alarmed when you say stuff like that. What do you mean? You have free choice. Yeah, that's what God is saying. But God ultimately will decide whether or not it happens. Like, if you could press on it's like you're driving in a car and you could decide, I want to drive into somebody, and you could press on the gas pedal. Do you control if you hit the guy? Not really. God can make a lot of things happen. God can make the guy make a turn. God can make a car not work in that moment. There are a lot of things that could happen. Someone else could hit you. Who knows? You don't. You can. We have what's called free choice, but at the same time, we don't control the outcomes of these decisions we make. We can try to do something. It doesn't mean it's going to work out the way it's going to work out. We go after money. We go after these things. We think it's all in our efforts. It's not really. That's the illusion. That's the mistake in a sense. Well, it's not a mistake. Again, it's the way it's created, but it's the way you're perceiving it as thinking like it actually makes a difference. Well, and really doesn't really. What really makes a difference is, well, how do you feel right now? How do you feel in this moment? Are you getting worked up, well, tense? Ooh, ooh, I can't hear what Yoni has to say. Or are you saying like, well, I can hear this. I'm pretty chill right now. Like, I can hear anything. I can hear what people say, and I start laughing into myself, like when people are trying to convince me of like something other than what I feel. Like, you're trying to convince me what your opinion, and it's okay. That's yours. I'm grateful for your opinion. I'm grateful for everyone's opinions. But when you're finally, I was trying to tell them at the table, like, what happens when you're completely free? What happens when you're free and you really feel free, and people are trying to tell you stuff, and you're like, I could look at you, and I'm like, do I want to be you, or do I want to be me? I don't look to anyone else now to be me. I just want to be the best version of me. I am enough, just the way I am. Shared a poem a little while ago called "I'm Enough." We are enough. You're enough just the way you are, and just appreciate that version. Thank you again for listening. Hope you have a great rest of the day.